So I want to take a look a little bit at the Wildshape options that are now going to be available for you and what kind of level you can expect to see them at, and kind of show you that the balance, I think, works a lot better than the current Wildshape. So at second level, you're going to be able to access quarter challenge rating creatures. So I've just selected a wolf here. This is a pretty standard example of a quarter challenge rating creature that you would be able to access at second level, whether you're a moon druid or if you are a circle of land druid or a different kind of druid from one of the other source books. So you would do the action, then you can take the wolf form. Armor class 13 is lower than we would expect most of our allies to have, with hit points of 11. So we don't have a ton of hit points, but these are in addition to your regular hit points, right? So technically, every short rest, you could add 22 points of damage that you could potentially take before getting into your regular hit points. The attack, we're looking at a +4 to hit for 2d4 plus 2 damage. Now, we would expect maybe a fighter or normal melee character to be looking at maybe a +5 to hit. So our chance to hit is just a tiny bit less, and 2d4 plus 2 damage, we're looking at maybe 7 points of damage on average. That's what you would expect to do with maybe a longsword. So we're not quite where a fighter would be at this level. But we don't necessarily want the druid to be better than the fighter at this level. And the fact that you can take those 22 additional points of damage before losing both your wild shapes, that is a significant boost in number of hit points you can take, and it's probably going to give you more hit points altogether than a fighter. And then you get the advantage of pack tactics, and so we can potentially get advantage on those attack rolls. So those +4s to hit could be +4 with advantage, and that's going to be very good. The wolf, I think, is a good example of how a second level druid and a second level moon druid now will be able to contribute in combat without being overpowered. Now, when we get to third level as a moon druid or fifth level as a other kind of druid, we could do half challenge rating creatures, and this is a significant boost. So here's the example of a black bear. Again, black bear's pretty standard example. Armor class of 11 is terrible, but now we're all the way up to 19 hit points. And then we're also getting a climb speed, and then we are getting 2 attacks around. So +4 to hit on 2 different attacks around. Now remember, most druids won't be able to access this until level 5. That's when a lot of characters are going to be able to attack twice. Now with a moon druid, we're getting this a little bit earlier, so we are getting to 2 attacks before a lot of other characters are getting to those 2 attacks. But if we look at the damage, and then we compare it to, say, a 2-weapon fighter, I don't think we're out of bounds here. We're still keeping ourselves reasonably close to the other characters that are going to be engaging in melee. Now remember, the quarter challenge rating creatures, the half challenge rating creatures, we're not using any spell slots to take these forms yet. Now, when we get to level 5 as a moon druid, and that's when we would expect a significant power boost, is level 5 is kind of a standard level, or level 7 for any other kind of druid, we'll be able to take the brown bear form, and that's going to be a huge power boost for us. 34 hit points. Now, it's still armor class 11, so you probably get hit if you're attacked, but you can probably take a few attacks with 34 hit points. And again, with the moon druid, you could do that twice using just your bonus action. Any other druid's going to have to use their action. And then we're getting 2 attacks with +6 to hit, and the damage is increased as well. And this, again, brings us a little bit closer to a real martial character. So if we're playing a moon druid and we get to 5th level, turning into a brown bear, I think, still keeps us pretty close in line, a little bit less still than other martial characters, but not a lot less, and then we're getting our spellcasting on top of it. Now, in this case, we're going to have to spend a 1st level spell slot to take this form, so there is some limitation on it. Still, when you are 5th level as a druid, you're going to have 4 1st level spell slots. So you could do this 4 times. And then you still would have your level 2 and level 3 spells to cast. So I still think that's pretty good. And I think a moon druid is doing fine here. Now, this is the point, actually, where if you were just a straight moon druid, the two kind of are just about converged at this point. Because you'd be taking a brown bear at that point as well. The only difference here is we would be spending spell slots, in this case, to take that form. So we're not quite where the moon druid was before, but we're just about there. And that's about what I wanted. I wanted the moon druid to be a little bit behind at those low levels. Around level 5, I wanted to start getting close. And once we get to those higher single-digit levels, I wanted it to get higher yet. Now, when you get to 7th level as a moon druid, or 9th level as any other kind of druid, you'll now be able to access challenge rating 2 forms. You can also access flying forms at this point as well. So since we've been doing bears, we'll just continue doing bears. So now you can turn into a cave bear. And your armor class technically improves slightly, but it's still pretty lousy. But now we have 42 hit points, so the hit points have gone up. And we're going to have our 2 attacks. they're going to have an additional +1 to hit. They're going to do additional +1 damage. So this isn't actually a huge boost from first level, but it is a boost. And so if you are playing a Moon Druid and you want to go into melee, being able to do this is going to make a difference. And if you're using your second level slot to take the Cave Bear, then you could do your 1d8 poison damage with the Cave Bear to up that damage even more if you wanted to. If you wanted to give up your spell casting just to be as good at melee as you could, you can be pretty good. But still, I think at 9th level for a regular Druid to take this form, I still think, remember that fighters are still just attacking twice around. We're not into those crazy things yet, so we're still going to be able to contribute in a reasonable fashion to combat. I mean, martial characters at this point are going to have more than 42 hit points, but they're not going to have a huge amount more than 42 hit points. Once we get to 9th level as a Moon Druid or 11th level as a regular Druid, then we could take something like a Giant Scorpion, which is a challenge rating 3 creature. It would require a 3rd level spell. Now we're getting 3 attacks, and those attacks are at +4, so I don't think it's crazy to have 3 attacks at this level. 52 hit points is pretty close, actually, to what we were looking at with challenge rating 2 creature, but this particular creature has a better armor class and blind sight 60 feet. Again, depending on the beast you take, you can get different good stuff. But if you could get in a situation where you can maybe use your blind sight in addition to darkness, and now you're making 3 attacks with advantage at +4, you could still be quite effective in combat. And again, 9th level. Now, if our Moon Druid gets to 11th level, or our regular Druid gets to 13th level, we could take the Giant Crocodile. Now that's 85 hit points. So the hit points have really gone up here. And then, of course, you get swimming and stuff with the Crocodile. And you get 2 attacks. You can make a bite attack and a tail attack that are +8 to hit. Now, if we're looking at your standard melee character, your proficiency at this point would be +4 if we're looking at 11th level, or +5 if we're looking at 13th level, plus our ability score bonuses. So these bonuses to hit are maybe just a tiny bit behind, but they're really close. They're just about right where they should be compared to other melee characters with 2 melee attacks. Remember, with Moon Druids, we can enhance that damage even more. But the damage here is actually quite good. 3d10 +5 piercing damage, 2d8 +5 bludgeoning damage, plus the opportunity to grapple. I think we are still contributing to combat, even at those double-digit levels, with the Giant Crocodile in a meaningful way. And now, if we were a Moon Druid standard, you need to be 15th level to take this form. So this gives a way for, like I said, Moon Druids and for other Druids to still contribute in combat if they want to, instead of doing spells all the time. Now at 15th level, or 17th level for a regular Druid, then we're looking at taking a 6th challenge rating creature. Not a lot of options, but we got the Mammoth, 126 hit points. That's a lot of hit points. Now we're using a 6th level slot to take this form, which means we'll never be able to do it more than twice in a day. And we don't want people taking Mammoth form over and over and over again when we're looking at 126 hit points each time. This does a lot of damage, and with a big bonus to hit. And there's a good chance we're going to be able to knock somebody prone when we attack as well. So we're just seeing, this is just meat, but it's a big piece of meat. And you're going to be able to contribute in combat in a meaningful way with this. Now at 17th level for a Moon Druid, or 19th level for a regular Druid, you would be able to take a challenge rating 7 form. And right now there's only one example, and that's the Giant Ape. 157 hit points, multiple attacks, +9 to hit, 3d10 +6 damage, or they can throw rocks for 7d6 +6 damage. So we know this one's really good because we see it with Polymorph, but unlike with Polymorph, of course, there's no concentration. You're going to maintain your own mental stats. So this is significantly better than polymorphing into these creatures. And then, of course, we can do it as a bonus action with our Moon Druid. We have other ways to enhance it with our Moon Druid. So we're seeing a significant boost in what a Moon Druid can do with Wildshape at those high levels, because remember that a Moon Druid would normally be able to get to challenge rating 6 only at level 18. So we're talking about a level earlier, we're being able to take challenge rating 7 creatures. But again, we're giving up some spellcasting to do so. But a Giant Ape at that point, 157 hit points, probably going to be more than other members of the party at that level. And we could do it twice. And we're getting attacks that, again, are within the realm of what we would expect a melee character to be able to do. So, yeah, once again, I think this is not quite where we would expect a full martial character to be in melee, but we're contributing in a meaningful way. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the way Wildshape works this way, with the scaling as it is, that we're always going to be able to, with a Moon Druid, with a non-Moon Druid, take forms that are not going to break the game. They're not going to be tougher than the martial characters. but I think they keep up. They're not that far behind. And I think that begins at level 2, and I think it holds to level 20. So this scaling, I looked at a lot of scaling models before I came up with the Wildshape forums as I did. This was not lightly done. I took a lot of time on that. This was one of the biggest projects I've done in the variant, is figure out how to deal with Wildshape. And I'm quite happy with the way it has turned out.